What do you get when you take one part Western, one part Night Saga, and one part samurai film, and toss them into a science fiction bowl? The best thing to happen to Star Wars since the Emperor hissed, good. Djarin's custody battle with Moff Gideon over the child Grogu has run its course. The stoic Mandalorian's adventure in not returning a bounty has introduced us to a cast of old and new characters that fills the space between Yub Yub and Luke retiring to a beach house at the far end of the galaxy. Now that Grogu has found his forever home, we presume, who will be the next person to make the bad decision to get on the Mandalorian's bad side? The leading contender for the big rival for Din in Season 3 is one of his big Season 2 allies, Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan hails all the way back to the Clone Wars, and then Rebels, where she started her long history of dodgy alliances. She allied with the Death Watch against her sister, the Duchess of Mandalore, and their new pacifist nature, and was exiled. She allied with Darth Maul and the Shadow Collective to take Mandalore and ended up, surprise, betrayed by the Sith Lord. She allied with her sister and the Jedi who helped exile her in the first place to get rid of her previous ally, only to have Mandalore occupied by a republic that had gone through a rebranding as an empire. Eventually, she teams up with Sabine Wren and her mother to restore Mandalore's independence and be granted the symbol of Mandalore's leadership, the Darksaber, only for the Empire to decide that Mandalore was too much of a hassle and purge the whole group, with Bo losing the Darksaber in the process. Then she allied with Din Djarin to unkidnap a 50-year-old baby and get the Darksaber back, only to have Din win it off Moff Gideon instead, which is now the only way ownership of the saber can be transferred. With Bo's determination to, this time for sure, restore Mandalore to its former glory, this puts Din and Bo at odds, despite the fact that Din is from a splinter cult so remote he didn't even know that there were other Mandalorians perfectly happy to take off their helmets, and has no interest in becoming their leader. But rules are rules, even if they seemingly came out of nowhere, and Bo is going to have to take the saber off Din the hard way if she's going to rule again, making her a favorite for a rival in Season 3. While Djarin has quickly become a big favorite among a lot of fans, Season 2 saw the return of the original bounty hunter, a few words, and a penchant for disintegrations, Boba Fett. It turns out this was all a setup for the Sarlacc surviving bounty hunter's own series, where he hopes to fill the power vacuum left when one Leia Organa let Jabba the Hutt know what she thought of his dress code. Rumored to be a part of the dust-up on Tatooine is a fan favorite from the Clone Wars and most recently the Bad Batch, Cad Bane. Cad Bane is ripped straight from a Sergio Leone spaghetti western, and given a sci-fi alien upgrade with his fondness for starting speeches looking at his belt buckle before looking up so his wide-brim headgear reveals his well-practiced steely gaze. He'd be a perfect fit for the Sergio Leone-inspired Mandalorian series, if only as a one-shot. With Din's reserve and Bane's tendency to monologue, there's a chance for Din to quote Tuco from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. When you have to shoot, shoot. Don't talk. Another fan favorite, not just for The Mandalorian, but the rapidly expanding Mandoverse, is a villain so compelling he's made the leap from legends to canon. Mithran Nuru Odo, born Kiva Ranuru, better known as Thrawn for probably obvious reasons, it's hard to yell Mithran Nuru Odo in anger, made a name for himself in the Galactic Empire with both his ruthlessness and his ability to understand his enemies. He spent much of his time in Star Wars Rebels, haunting the life of Jedi Padawan Ezra Bridger and his ragtag rebel crew until disappearing. While Din dials up Anakin Skywalker's old Padawan Ahsoka, hoping to offload his young charge, he finds that Ahsoka isn't as down with the Jedi life as she once was, and at some point she developed beef with this calculating admiral. This no doubt means that Ahsoka will spend the time in her series hunting the Blue Meanie down, but there's a popular theory among fans that Thrawn will actually be the monster at the end of the book of the entire Mandoverse world, not unlike another blue-hued madman, Thanos. So while he might not face Din personally, he could end up being the man behind the curtain. Much like the comic books, death in the Star Wars universe isn't quite the ending it is in our world. All the way back to A New Hope, we found out that if Darth Vader struck Kenobi down, he'd become more powerful than he ever imagined. That power? Recommending a good teacher for Vader's estranged son, teaching his power. Darth Maul turned being cut in half to just a scratch and managed to come back as well. The Grand Inquisitor was tasked with running cleanup on Order 66, ridding the galaxy of any Jedi not taken out by the Clone Warriors. He seemed to meet his end in Star Wars Rebels, but in a tie-in comic, Darth Vader ended up tying his spirit to a Jedi temple on Tempes, the Tempes Temple. Say that 5 times fast. In his duty as Temple Protector, he's already tangled with Luke Skywalker himself. This could be a window into bringing old GE back to life, perhaps arriving late on Grogu's group text to the Jedi to finish what he started. We don't have to dig deep in the extended catalog for Din to find characters to develop beef with, when there are characters walking around already, fostering a big hate for the determined bounty hunter. While trying to find a proper home for Grogu, Din took a side quest to free a former rival with the help of a former girlfriend. That went all kinds of predictably wrong, with Din left in the prison ship before escaping and sicking the New Republic on the group's base of operations. Quinn was a former ally of Din's before he blamed Din for his own failings. With his betrayal of Din being turned on its ear, there's a good chance that him and Ranzar Malk might give revenge another go, this time for sure. We don't have to just look backwards to find foes for our hero of few words. We can also look forward. While the sequel trilogy focused primarily on the weird relationship between the scions of the Skywalker and Palpatine families, there was a team that didn't get much play other than worried whispers, the Knights of Ren. Turns out they weren't just Kylo Ren's fanboys. They were a cult gang formed by the teachings of the original Ren, who built a philosophy around the lightsaber. It would make sense if Ren and his fledgling gang came looking for the galaxy's only black lightsaber as the perfect item for the edgy group of teens looking to live by the saber. One of the things that Star Wars stories have embraced is taking a character that had a few seconds of screen time and flushing them out into their whole thing. Just look what they did with a bounty hunter with only 4 lines. There are a set of characters that so far have only really gotten a name drop, but in that name drop, they've become notorious for what they accomplished. They stole the Millennium Falcon. Well, they stole it from the guy who stole it. Before going to seed on Jakku, the Irving Boys were the possessors of the Kessel Run Champ, a process we could easily see part of during the travels of Din Djarin. Jabba the Hutt made use of a lot of bounty hunters, but one of them, a whippet named Jaquil, was actually on the payroll of Jabba's rival in crime, Lady Valarian. Lady Valarian had sent her former lover to kill Jabba, but since Leia took the honors, Lady Valarian put a massive bounty on Jaquil's head for not doing it himself. Some people just can't take a W. While this makes her an ideal foil to Boba Fett and his quest to take over Jabba's crime empire, Din could find himself enamored by that big bounty on her ex. IG-11 became an ally to the android-hating Din during the first season of The Mandalorian, a similar model to IG-88, who was one of the bounty hunters sent to find Han Solo after Greedo failed to fire first. Just saying, Han shot first. While IG-88 spent the rest of his career talking about the time he almost got the Millennium Falcon, there's another bounty hunter that would finish the roundup that could appear in The Mandalorian Season 3, Bossk. The bounty hunter that looks like he spends his time taking double fist blows from Captain Kirk could end up as a one-off rival for a bounty, if Kirk isn't busy. While digging through the catalog to find a big bad, we shouldn't lose track of the fact that both the client, played by famous director Werner Herzog, who can make a lullaby seem like a dark insight into your soul, and Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito, with his signature, "I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, but also I'm mad" face, were brand new characters, and awesome. There's no saying they can't find an equally imposing character actor and make that magic happen again. What's Bryan Cranston up to? I'd be happy if the whole thing turned out to be a space version of The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. It'd be worth it to watch Din tell someone, "There's 2 kinds of people in this galaxy. Those whose blasters are loaded, and those who dig. You dig."